Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IS Academy. In this lecture, we will be dealing with the news regarding European Union's ban. So what ban is all about? This ban, in this ban, they have basically banned the import of fuel, but not directly from Russia, but they have banned the import of fuel which is made from the Russian crude oil. In addition to that, they have also sanctioned an Indian refinery. So what is the news about? It is about European Union banning the fuel which is made up of the Russian crude oil. I hope that's clear. In addition to that, an Indian refinery is also banned. So we will see what is the emphasis or implication of this move and why an Indian refinery is also banned as well. So what is the news exactly? The news is about European Union announcing the ban on import of fuel that is made from the Russian crude oil. Now here, even from third countries means of course there needs to be a third country involved. So here it's not the ban. See, Russia will be can make petroleum or fuel from its own crude oil and then import to the other nations including European Union, right? So European Union is not saying that we will ban the fuel directly coming from Russia. But let's say a third country uses Russian crude oil to manufacture, to create fuel. Then from those countries also, European Union will not buy the fuel. So that is what it means, that even from the third countries, it will not buy the fuel. Now, in addition to this particular ban, it has also imposed ban on, or rather sanctions on, the Indian refinery named as Indian refiner. Indian refiner means the Indian refinery that refines the crude oil. Which Indian refinery? It's the Nayara Energy, which has also been imposed with sanctions. Why? The reason being, this refinery of India has basically Rosneft as its partner. Now, Rosneft is basically an oil company of Russia which has 49% plus share in Indian refinery Nayara. That is why they have sanctioned Indian refinery as well. In addition to this, there has been a price cap on Russian oil which has now been reduced from $60 to $47.6. What does this mean? That they will buy Russian oil only at this price cap. So the price cap has also been lowered. So in this news, you can clearly see an attack on the Russian oil economy. I hope that's clear. Let's now delve deeper into this news. Before that, an important announcement about the Legacy IS Academy's batches that are starting from 9th and 11th of August. So you should be enrolled with us before these dates in order to take the advantage from the very beginning. Now, over here, there are certain advantages that you get from Legacy IS Academy when you join us over others, and the advantages, some of them are listed over here. Some important focus should be made on the one-on-one mentorship that you would be provided and doubt solving from the expert faculties that you saw, who themselves have given UPSC personality tests and have rich experience of over 10 years by each of the faculties. In addition to that, there will be regular interactions. The batch size is limited only to 40 students in order to ensure that there is individual attention given to the students. You will have daily mains answer writing practice. The test series for prelims and mains will be there. In addition, you will be getting 360-degree coverage of current affairs. How do we provide that? We provide that by having one entire day dedicated only for current affairs live classes. Now, if you want to enroll, you can enroll by downloading our app. You will have the provision for enrollment, or you can call on these numbers or visit our website, that is www.legacyis.com. Having said that, now let's continue with our news. So what is the background of the news? Why this, or the background of the sanctions or the ban? The background is that why on India specifically, because, or India's refinery, because Russia is India's top crude oil. Russia is India's top crude oil supplier. It supplies to India more than one third of its crude oil requirements, approximately 40%. At the same time, India uses this crude oil, refines it, and sends it back, exports it back to other countries, including European Union. So India supplies fuel to European Union, and since more one third is of made from Russian crude oil, of course we will be supplying fuel which is made up of Russian crude oil. That is why the Indian refinery is also targeted over here. Now, what are the measures that have been taken? Of course, the ban on refined fuels from Russian crude oil via the third countries. However, there are certain exempted countries. The exempted countries are USA, UK, Canada, Switzerland, and Norway. That means what? That means European Union is okay to buy, okay to not have sanctions put on these countries. There can be possibility because they have better, friendlier ties with them than with India. At the same time, sanctions on Nayara, because Nayara basically it's a refinery which has a capacity of 20 million tons per annum of refining it does. It's a huge player, and Rosneft has 49% stake in it. I hope that's clear. So what are the measures that have been taken by European Union to impose that? They have basically lowered the price cap on Russian seaborne crude. Right. So what they have done, they have lowered the price cap. That means what? They will buy crude oil only at this particular rate. So from $60, they have lowered it to $47.6 per barrel. If you give it at this rate, fair enough. So sort of imposition of limit is there, and at that lower rate, if it's provided, it's fine, or else not. At the same time, broader sanctions are there on Russia's energy, military, as well as banking sector is attacked by European Union financially through these bans and sanctions. Now, why target Nayara? We have already seen that Russian ownership is there in Nayara. Rosneft is a Russian oil company which owns 49% of 49.13% of Nayara, and that is why it has been also sanctioned. And at the same time, this much ownership is there, plus India also exports a lot of fuel to the European Union. I hope that's clear. Now moving ahead, what will be the impact of this decision on India? Of course, there will be impact not in the sense that we may stop importing crude oil from Russia. We may not do that, but we do export a huge amount of fuel to European Union. In financial year 24, it was $19.2 billion. It had already lowered by 27% to $15 billion, but still it is quite considerable. Now this will take a hit because of this decision. So this is the magnitude of impact that India can face. Now the question is, can it be effectively imposed? European Union has given the announcement, but can the European Union actually impose it? See, it's quite difficult. Why? Because no clear method to track the origin, right? How can you track that this particular fuel was made from the crude oil of this particular country, right? That is difficult. What they can do is, countries which import a lot from Russia, they can ban it from them, impose sanctions on them, but specifically identifying it becomes quite difficult to impose. At the same time, the definition of fuel made from Russian crude oil is also ambiguous, and even if it is clear, it is very difficult. It becomes clear, it will be difficult to track it. At the same time, it could cause market confusion and compliance gaps. Market would be then confused. See, what can happen is, India is taking one third of crude oil, more than one third crude oil from Russia. But India can also say that we will give you fuels which is not manufactured from Russian crude oil. We can specifically make that provision from European Union. But then that will not help European Union's agenda, or let's say purpose of curbing or sanctioning or imposing or attacking Russia financially, right? So there is still a lot of ambiguity with respect to these things. Now what is the price cap analysis and what are its implications? If price cap analysis is imposed, that we will purchase only if the price cap was lower, then that can benefit India also. If we get price at a cheaper price, then if European Union will accept from us, and if Russia starts giving us at cheap, that is going to help, of course, right? So it will lower the price, which will be cheaper crude oil for India. Now that will help us save a lot in our imports. But what is the reality? The reality as of now is that most Russian crude oil to India comes through the shadow fleet. Shadow fleet means it does not come through the European route. It comes from a different route which does not have to cross the European Union countries or even their ports. So as such, direct influence is not an issue. It can impact our imports of fuel, but we can come up a counter by saying that we will import fuels manufactured only exclusively from crude oil other than the Russian crude oil. But then the decision would be in the European Union's hand to take. Thank you.